Hello, Bart Riley here again for Ideas to Inspire Ideas. Today I'm throwing away a novel idea, as in an idea for a novel, which I will not be writing because I am not a woman. With some rationalizing that doesn't sound as stupid as you may think. I personally know enough women in my life to confidently write a female character in my work, but I don't know enough teenage girls who like dystopian fiction to confidently write an entire novel from that perspective. This story is a woman who grew up with those kinds of stories and vowed to make it reality. And to this one I have a bit of an outline that I wrote on Patreon, which I've now deleted, but I was writing a lot of ideas up there to give samples of what I wanted to do. But now that I'm throwing my ideas away, they're no longer on Patreon. So, the story, Dystopia Girl. Brief. Meet Abigail Kint, a smart, sarcastic and well-travelled woman in the desolated wastelands of 2056. After growing up surrounded by fictional stories of the apocalypse, Abby took it upon herself to actually bring on the end of every society around the world, and her mission is almost complete. I will accept downgrading from the world to one country, because the world is a bit of a stretch for one character to destroy until you remember Trump. From anecdotes of her privileged but dull childhood, to her affectionate opinions on real-life dictators, to her step-by-step guides on how to destabilize a government, join her for a fascinating and yet terrifying look at every evil overlord's best friend. Inspired by the endless amount of dystopia teen novels that have been getting adapted into movie franchises over the past few years, by past few years means from October 2017, particularly the Hunger Games, Divergent and the Maze Runner films, as well as so many other stories based on the apocalypse. Character influence is also drawn from A Song of Fire and Ice / Game of Thrones franchise. So yes, the setup is Abigail grew up in a rich family, liked to read a lot, mostly dystopian fiction, but also a lot of history books, actual learning of stuff. And she learnt enough to go into a foreign country, figure out a social problem, escalate it to destroy the current government, and put in power a dictatorship, which she quickly ditched the country for in order to come back later and initiate the rebellion that brings it down, where most of the dystopian fictions start from. And as it said, she's almost completed that mission. She is that manipulative, like Cersei from Game of Thrones. Obvious connection there. But since the story is told from her perspective, we don't really sympathize with her, but can understand the chain of thought. There was a part I was thinking about where she doesn't empathize with Adolf Hitler, but she makes a point that the fictional super evil version that media makes is less interesting to her than actual humanizing stories that she's read about him. I'm perfectly fine with you leaving that part out. But the idea of fiction versus reality is there, where she wanted to create the story in reality. Like, maybe she's not dissatisfied with how it is, but it didn't turn out how she wanted it. Like, she put in motion the destruction of the country, but she didn't stay around for all the bloodshed. Like, she was more interested in the manipulating and the theory of it than the actual fallout and everybody murdered or starving or whatever. There's going to be a recurring theme in these videos where, since I first wrote these ideas years ago, my opinions have completely changed. Maybe with more thought or even a collaborative partner, I could solve these problems, but I've already chosen the projects that I will work on for now, that I can actually release in the nearest future. And doing more thought on these projects for the future that I can't release anytime soon is just taking away work that I can be doing for the actual projects. Nowadays, as an artist and a parent, I don't want to discourage anyone from reading, from learning new things. But in this story, it is actually the acquisition of knowledge and the disillusionment of fantasy that has led Abigail to up a country, which really goes against that idea. Also, this idea would be better for someone who knows about economy and global structures and all that stuff, and I really don't have the time to do that research. I could specifically write that they're two separate entities, one is good and one is bad, but I don't want to say that either of them are bad, and I don't know how to get Abigail to realize that. Just like Abigail, my love of fiction has led to a lot of things that I've learned. And I don't want to separate the two, but I don't want to say they're both equally bad, but whatever, it's not my project anymore, so it's not my problem. You go. Oh, and here's the conceptual cover art. Not that I forgot to mention that while recording. Thanks for watching. This is my verbal declaration that I will not sue anyone for using the previous outline to create their own work, regardless of how much fame or money you might get from it. I'm definitely not the kind of artist who thinks I can own a concept. However, I would like to see what comes out of this video just for comparison and curiosity. If you do make something or find an existing piece that's similar, please let me know through Twitter or Facebook or email, and I'll happily check it out. And if you want to see the ideas I am working on for myself, please visit my Patreon page for samples and previews, no payment required. Happy creating, Bard Riley out!